thank you for inviting me here, and it's a great pleasure to participate in this event. So I'd like to start with this picture that has been displayed here for a while now, and that's the picture of the ministerial meeting in Salekhard, concluding the Russian chairmanship in the Arctic Council. So you can see that there was still place for observer flags and the wall along of the Arctic states and permanent participants flags. But in this presentation, I'll focus on how the situation looks today and how the situation has changed since over the 6 or 7 years. So here's the overview of presentation. Okay, sorry. Today's presentation will be following on according to these points, and my aim is to first frame the observer problem and place it within the broader context of Arctic governance. And furthermore, that's important to take a quick look on the observer question within the Arctic Council, what's the place and how they are, what they're able to do within the Arctic Council. Then we'll focus on what's at stake at all, and why there is so much interest in the Arctic Council in particular. And accordingly, that's the another point, which is why is it a problem for the Arctic states, and why this question has aroused so much attention, and how is it handled. And then we'll take a brief look at the prospects the non-Arctic states or actors may have in the Arctic Council. So let me begin with the Arctic Council's place in the Arctic governance system, because it's important to be aware of the actual role of observers and within the broader context, as the Arctic Council is not the only institution that is in charge of Arctic affairs, and it's important one which gives a lot of dynamics to the other parts of the framework, but still it's not the only one, and it's only a political forum, and it has no regulatory powers to make any new arrangements. But still, we can see that the Arctic Councils are quite flexible in using this forum. For example, in the case of a search and rescue agreement and the forthcoming agreement on oil spill response. So the key role of the Arctic Council so far was knowledge production, and that's the most important thing about the Council. And the key issue is that the knowledge generated under the auspices of the Arctic Council is one that is conceived by and accepted by all the Arctic states. So all their decisions related to the Arctic are based on this knowledge, which was produced with common efforts and under the auspices of the Arctic Council. So the Arctic states decided to strengthen the Arctic Council in response to the ongoing environmental change in the Arctic and globalization processes that are entering that region, and also in response to the growing global interest in Arctic Council's works. So that's the question of observers is very much related to the future role and place of the Arctic Council in the broader landscape of Arctic institutions. So observers within the Arctic Council are one of three main categories of participants, and of course the most important category is the 8 Arctic states, which are supported in their decision making by permanent participants, which however do not have voting right. And observers are the third category, and they can contribute to the work of the Arctic Council, and that's actually their they're expected to do so. And this contribution should take place primarily on the level of working groups, which are all the 6 are listed here below this. So observers have quite marginal role within the Arctic Council. They are not the status doesn't give any significant powers, but still it's important in terms of improving effectiveness and general quality of the work of the Arctic Council. So how the observers get admitted to the Arctic Council? They are admitted according to criteria which before the 2011 NUC ministerial meeting were very general, and actually there was one criterion that said that the observers should contribute, or according to the Arctic states, observers can be those actors that, according to the Arctic states, can contribute to the work of the Arctic Council. So it was open to 3 categories of actors, and including non-Arctic states and different kinds of international institutions and organizations. But after the NUC ministerial meeting, we have more extensive admission criteria for observers, and those can be categorized into 3 main areas, and those are aimed at clarifying the situation and giving and to give the applicants a more specific information about the rules or the issues that are taken into consideration when they are assessed when they're applying for the observer status. So the NUC observer rules also clarified a bit the role the observer should play within the Arctic Council, and the first and the overarching role of observers is to observe Arctic Council's works, and it's explicitly stated in the new rules. And the other equally important expectation of the Arctic states is concerning observers is that they're making relevant contributions to the work of the Arctic Council, primarily within the working groups. So that means that they provide expertise, participate in research projects, and so forth. And also, they were given an opportunity to propose projects, which, however, might be proposed only through either an Arctic state or the permanent participant. And of course, they can make also statements, and they're also under certain restrictions. And for example, at the ministerial meetings, they can only deliver written statements to the chair. And next issue is why this is a problem at all for the Arctic states. That's why this debate on the Arctic, non-Arctic actors' engagement is so hot right now. So first of all, there are issues related to climate change, policy dynamics, and geopolitics, also globalization. And this has caused a lot of discussions within both Arctic states and non-Arctic actors and between them. And this is pretty much the reason why we are at this point now. And this is driven also by the Arctic states' particular interests and also by permanent participants' view on certain issues and the role of the observers within the Arctic Council. So let's take a quick look at the developments and how they were associated to iconic moments in the history of environment cooperation in the Arctic. So basically, it's what we can see at this picture is that there were like two waves of non-Arctic interests in environmental cooperation in the Arctic. First one was at the very beginning of this effort. That was commenced by the Finnish initiative and the Rovaniemi Declaration, accompanied by the Arctic Environment Protection Strategy. And those 4 countries that are on the very left were participating from the very beginning in the process. Then also after the establishment of the Arctic Council, which was in 1996, two more states joined the non-Arctic club, and they're the only the only permanent observers so far that have been accepted by the Arctic states. So after or since 2004, we can observe a growing interest, a global interest in Arctic affairs, and this has caused also a new wave of applications. And already in 2006, two more countries applied. 2007, sorry, applied, which could be also associated to the very iconic moment of planting the Russian flag on the seabed at the North Pole. And also 2007 was the record year for ice cover on the Arctic, which was on the lowest level since the satellite observations. And this has caused also further applications. In 2008, 2 more actors, then 2009, and so on. The latest, as Eric said, was India, who joined the applicants just a few months ago. So this is the dynamics of how the issue developed over the years, and this has also caused important, or it should be also juxtaposed with Arctic states' interests. So basically, why the Arctic states see the non-Arctic actors as a challenge to the Arctic Council? First of all, there is a consensus among the Arctic states that the existing legal framework and institutional framework in the Arctic is sufficient, and it applies to the Arctic, and it should be only strengthened and implemented. So that's the picture from the meeting in Ilulissat in 2008, which issued the well-known Ilulissat Declaration. And in relation to non-Arctic, of course, this declaration was issued in response to the outside interest, not in response to the issues between the Arctic states. So the one reason why they are afraid or anxious about the non-Arctic states is that this existing consensus could be jeopardized by non-Arctic states, which have very often different views on the situation in the Arctic. The second one, or here, that's not the full catalog of interests. I'm just highlighting the most important issues to my mind, and they also try to present themselves as stewards of the Arctic, or those who take care of the region. And that was also reflected by the Arctic Ocean meetings. But this can also be challenged by more generous non-Arctic contributions to the Arctic research within the Arctic Council, for example, which could actually tarnish this image of Arctic states as stewards, as not giving as much funding or financial input as the non-Arctic states. So that could also undermine their position in some way. And there are also particular interests of individual states involved, as for example, Canada and their issues with the status of the Northwest Passage, and very famous case of seal products that were banned by the EU, which actually been a reason why the EU was not accepted as an observer. Probably that was also the reason why the others were in the same situation. But the permanent participants have a lot to say also in this question, and that's actually the Canadian position in relation to the seal-bound products ban. Seal products ban was very much affected by the position of Canadian permanent participants who are very much disappointed with this decision of the European Union, even though the decision included some exceptions for Inuit products. It still caused a collapse of the global market of seal products. So there's also a question about their position within the Arctic Council, which is quite unique right now, and they are afraid that together with more actors involved, more powerful actors, their position may be diluted. And as I said, they have this ability to avert admission of unwanted actors. But on the other hand, there are also opportunities for them, as the non-Arctic actors may support their participation in the Arctic Council works. So there were many efforts to respond to the situation, and this is basically on this presumption that the present Arctic Council's formula may not be sufficient anymore. So the Arctic states have taken their own steps to make this situation clear, and this already started at the SAO meetings Folver, where the efficiency and the efficiency of the Arctic Council was discussed for the first time, and that was also incorporated to the SAO report of ministers, which mandated actually the work on the observer issue, and the observer survey conducted under the Danish chairmanship led to establishing this NUC observer rules. But as the observer survey revealed that there is a large discrepancy in the Arctic states' interests and permanent participants' interests, the NUC observer rules try to incorporate all these views, and this is what we can see now. Is the situation. We don't know how these rules will be used, because they were never used before, and the Kiruna ministerial will just give us a glimpse of how the Arctic states see the usage of this this NUC observer rules. So there's also a task force after the NUC ministerial that is working on the issue, and a novum in this case is the Swedish idea of having this observer breakfast during the SAO meetings, where when the observers can freely discuss the issues with the chairmanship. And also, Swedish chairmanship held the first Arctic Council meeting with observers that was held in Stockholm in November. But there are also efforts on the other side of the barricade, and the observers are also organizing their meetings, and they're already started in Brussels 2007, which was followed by the London meeting in 2008, and the most developed form of this in Warsaw 2010, when the observers had this opportunity to meet with SAO Chair Lars Müller under the Danish chairmanship, and that's basically the idea, to have this unrestricted channel of communication between the Arctic Council and observers on the observers' ground. And there will be another meeting in Warsaw, in this so-called Warsaw format meeting in March this year. So this seems to be like getting a form of more established formula of communication between the Arctic Council observers. So what are the prospects? And actually key areas, or I would say also 3 steps are needed to make the situation better for other sides, for both sides. And first, there is a need to improve the communication between both non-Arctic states and the Arctic states, and also permanent participants, which are for the first time also invited for this meeting in March in Warsaw. And this may lead to better mutual understanding and better comprehension of each other's interests, expectations, and this may give this base and foundation for better and substantial cooperation within the Arctic Council, and making actually the Council works better. So thank you for your attention. That's it. Yeah.